back with Joe Bob's Hollywood Saturday Night and Robin Hood Men in Tights after these messages.
Is played by 70s supermodel Carolyn Monroe. Very talented actress. Talk about your double features. Okay, let's do the drive-in totals. We have 4 dead bodies, 2 dead homunculi, 1 dead centaur, 1 dead griffin. No entirely naked breasts, but what we do get to see is very worthwhile. 1 horseback chase, 2 sword fights, 3 fist fights, belly dancing, disintegrating monk, collapsing temple, bloody fountain, gratuitous fake Muslim sayings, harpoon foo, 3 stars. Check it out. Whew. You know, I've been thinking that Gucci loafers aren't that bad if you avoid the ones with a little gold clasp on the top. Walls have eyes and eyes have ears. No, they don't. See, you can say that with an Iraqi accent and you go, aha, the wise man who speaks wisely of wise Allah. But eyes do not have ears. What is that about? Also, didn't that one guy say, he who walks on fire will burn his feet? That's not an ancient saying. They hired a bunch of Armenian sitcom writers to do the dialogue on this baby, didn't they? Anyhow, have you guys started to notice that Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of ripped off some stuff from this flick? Remember that gold doohickey Harrison Ford sticks on the post, and when the light hits it, it shows him on the map where to dig? It's kind of like the gold doohickey here. Except that Raiders is a great flick, and this one is not bad. For the kind of special effects they were dealing with in 1974, which was Ray Harryhausen sitting in a room for 2 years, moving clay figures 1/4 of an inch an hour. In fact, this movie was such a big hit when it came out that they re-released the first Sinbad movie, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and they started production on a 3rd one, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. Remember when we showed that one? Jane Seymour in braless baby doll princess tops, and Patrick Wayne emoting. Except Patrick Wayne didn't do an accent. John Philip Law thought Sinbad should have an accent, but apparently he thought Sinbad was from Transylvania. Okay, back to the movie in just a minute. And by the way, I finally went on that Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. You guys been on that? Starts out with this real freaky animatronic version of Harrison Ford. And then you get tossed around in a Jeep until you hurl your corn dog. And when you're done, you have that Indiana Jones song stuck in your head for about 9 hours. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da. You can't get it. It's actually a pretty cool ride.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad after these messages.
Haroon is a hash head. Haroon is a hash head. The comic treatment of drug use in a TNT movie. Unexpurgated. I'm appalled. Okay, so Sinbad takes Carolyn Monroe on his ship because she has an eyeball tattooed on her hand. Uh-huh. It has nothing to do with the fact that she has cleavage deeper than the Marianas Trench and wears skin-tight sequin tops with 3/4 of the fabric missing. Carolyn was educated in a convent, and I must say she is blessed, isn't she? She's one of the British scream queens, the only actress ever to be put under contract by Hammer Films, and her trademark is wearing costumes the size of a cocktail napkin. Unfortunately, she refused to do nudity, and the nun who told Carolyn that being naked is a sin is going to have to do some serious Hail Marys to get into heaven as far as I'm concerned. Carolyn did those Noxema commercials in the 70s. Woo! Those things were so sexy, religious fanatics had got them taken off the air down in the Bible Belt. And she was actually fully clothed, believe it or not. The woman's just a walking can of estrogen whoop-ass, isn't she?
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad after these messages.
One of Ray Harryhausen's most famous sequences, the animated wooden sea maiden zombie thingy. But to summon the demons of darkness, there is a price. A man who fears the unknown will one day take fright in his own backside. Trust in Allah, but tie up your camel. Are these actual Muslim sayings? I thought I'd read all 1001 tales from the Arabian Nights. I don't remember trust in Allah, but tie up your camel. I missed that one. I should point out that the evil Kura is played by Tom Baker, known to sci-fi geeks everywhere as Doctor Who. Tom was born Jewish, but he became a monk when he was 15. And then he bailed on the monastic thing when he was 21 to enlist in the British Army Medical Corps. And then he left that for the most honorable of professions, acting. Okay, coming up, Tom Baker does more magic incantations, and Carolyn Monroe defies every known law of physics with that bodice that has no visible means of support. And maybe there are millions of little microorganisms swarming over her breast like Egyptian slaves, straining with all their strength to hold up her top, you know, like the millions who died to build the pyramids. And, of course, it would be worth it. You know what happened to Tom Baker, though, don't you? He says, I have been called by God. I must devote my entire life to being a monk. Okay, good, Tom. We'd like you to meet Carolyn Monroe. I'm an actor. And Tom Baker isn't the only monk-turned-actor. Peter Boyle is a monk-turned-actor. How does that happen? You know, they star in the monastery's performance of Fiddler in the Roof or something, and then they realize God wants them to do television, you know. Well, actually, they probably don't do Fiddler in monasteries, do they? They do Carpenter on the Roof. Think about it. The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, one of the few movies you'll see on TNT where the comic relief comes from a drunk opium addict. And speaking of relief, it's time for a visit from Rusty, the TNT mail girl, who's here to help us read some mail from Americans' fine penal institutions in what we call Joe Bob's Jailbreak. And let me guess, Rusty, we got another recipe from prison.
Can you believe it? You've inspired the Battle of the Prison Chefs.
Okay, well, just plug this thing into the extension cord over there. And by the way, you guys can find these prison recipes on the website. I don't know how many of you in prison have access to the web, but it's tnt.turner.com/JoeBob. Or you can write to us at joebob@turner.com. And I like that. I like the way you did that. You want to check that again, see if that's plugged in properly?
It's plugged in.
Maybe you should double check it. Anyway, what do you got?
This is from Cece and Lola and Kelly at the Logan Correctional Center in Lincoln, Illinois.
Lincoln, Illinois. I've been there. Hey, Joe Bob. Enclosed is a special jailhouse no-bake easy cheesecake recipe. Easy cheesecake from a women's prison. I like this already. From all the women here at Logan Correctional Center in Illinois, and we'd all like to know if it's true that all things grow bigger in Texas. Hope you love the cake and pass our recipe on to others in need of a small taste of home. We love you. P.S. If it's possible, we'd really like to see Silence of the Lambs. Does that always freak you out when people in prison want to see Silence of the Lambs? If not, we'll all still be watching. Maybe you could see about showing us some larger personal parts of Texas. Cece, Lola, and Kelly, and then they have the recipe here. Yes, it's all true. Things do grow bigger in Texas, and if they don't, we add yeast. Looks like Rusty's already arranged for us to try out your recipe, so I don't know, Rusty, these things never turn out too good when we make them.
Don't worry, I have everything we need.
People in prison can make them, we can't make them.
Here, I'll read it and you mix it.
Okay.
All right, take the 1-foot pan,
All right.
crush vanilla wafers with the Keeper iced tea jar, lid
With the-
first.
Lid first.
Mm-hmm. Crush
Okay.
super fine.
Like this?
Well, sort of.
Why do they crush them with a jar? Oh, because it's blunt objects in prison. I got it. Okay.
All right.
This takes
Add
a long time,
sugar.
but in prison you got a long time. Okay. Sugar.
Okay.
crushed
Melt
wafer.
butter. We've already done that.
This
Add
is the
to
melted
crust.
butter.
Mm-hmm. Add to crust and
Oh,
mix
this is the
until
crust?
all is coated. Yes, that's the crust. Now press evenly with tea jar
It's coated. Okay, I'm doing that.
until compressed.
It's, well, okay. Keep reading.
And microwave for 30 seconds. After it's
Now,
compressed.
wait a minute. How many prisoners have microwaves in their cell? Okay. Keep reading.
All right, in a caramel corn bowl, which we have there, or sort of.
Caramel corn bowl.
Yes. Okay, mix together cream cheese, pudding, and sweet and low.
And what else?
Sweet and low.
Sweet and low. I don't see any sweet and low.
Oh.
Where's the sweet and low?
Well, it wasn't on the list of ingredients. Well,
Okay.
we just have to make do. All right, beat until creamy and all lumps are gone.
With this?
Yes.
Okay. What
All
else?
right, pour over crust.
Pour this over the crust?
Uh-huh. Even it out and set in a bowl of ice for 1 hour.
There's not going to be, there's going to be lumps. All right, we can't do it.
That's bed is lumpy.
Oh, I know, but I'll continue to beat it after we put it in here. Okay? So we're done with that. Go ahead. Where's the sweet one?
We don't have any sweet soap.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Pour it over the crust.
All right. I did that.
Set it in a bowl of ice for 1 hour.
Okay. Oh, a bowl of ice. All right, I guess. Like that?
Okay.
That's not going to do anything.
Yes, it's supposed to set.
Okay. You don't like it?
That does not look right.
Well, I might have to agree with you on that. But just pretend you're in prison.
We'll be back with Joe Bob's Monstervision in the Golden Voyage of Sinbad after these messages.
That last sequence was filmed in the caves of Arta, actual caves in Europe, in Greece, I believe. And if I'm wrong, feel free to write in and tell me what a moron I am, since everybody seems to get such a kick out of that. They had to shoot those scenes in the middle of the night because there were tourists crawling all over the place during the day, taking pictures and dropping Snickers wrappers everywhere. Snickers, very big in Greece. I should point out that this flick was directed by Gordon Hessler, the only guy ever to direct a movie starring the rock band Kiss. And now it's time to take the cheesecake out of the ice. This is from a recipe that comes our way via the Logan Correctional Center in Illinois. And Rusty, why don't you cut us each a piece? How about it?
But it hasn't been an hour yet.
Well, that's okay, because we got the super strength ice, obviously.
I bought the ice, and it's not super strength.
Well, just cut the cake. It's TV, all right?
All right.
Go ahead. You try it first. That's enough. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm on a diet.
Come on. You don't want to hurt the gal's feelings at that prison.
If I'm hurting anyone's feelings, it's yours. Here, you eat it. You might need that.
It's such a sweet letter.
We'll see.
Well, it's better than those nachos from the men's prison, I'll tell you that. Maybe we can post this recipe on the website, you know, like the cooking shows do.
Oh, you could put together a cookbook of prison recipes. I'm sure you'd make $1 million.
Yeah, all those millions. Those guys in prison. That's a good idea.
We'll be
Benihana Foo, Slice and Dice City. That was one of the big Ray Harryhausen tours de force for this flick, where Sinbad and his crew fight off Kali, the six-armed dancing death goddess. The way he did that was to rope together two guys waving 4 swords around and film them, and then he drew sketches of the frames of film, and then he drew in 2 more arms, and he made one of those flip books out of the drawings, and then he based the movements of the model on the flip book, and he shot it 2 frames at a time, and 8 years later, he was ready to move on to the next scene. And I'm ready to move on, too, so let's get the commercials out of the way and get back to it. Go. Ray's still around. He's just not making movies anymore. After being cooped up in his studio in London for 42 years, moving stuffed animals around at 2 inches per day, he decided to do a little traveling. I don't blame him. Actually, he decided to do a lot of traveling. So, Ray, if you're watching, you can go home now. Nobody's going to make you do any more stop-motion animation, I promise. Excuse me, but the bad guy is already at the Fountain of Destiny, and Sinbad is chasing Nookie through a cave? All this time you're wondering what horrible things that Major Ugly Centaur is doing to Carolyn Monroe, right? I mean, they make porno videos about stuff like that. So, okay, I think we need a little recap of the plot for those of you who drifted off during all that hoisting in the cave. So let's see. A flying gargoyle drops a gold doohickey onto Sinbad's ship, which Sinbad decides to use as an accessory, even though it's supposed to bring him bad luck. But instead of bad luck, he's brought a Vogue cover model with an eyeball drawn on her hand, which is supposed to be a sign, but it's really just an eyeball drawn on her hand. Meanwhile, the bad guy recites a bunch of evil spells, even though they make him age faster than a Beverly Hills divorcee in a tanning salon. And then he follows Sinbad, the supermodel, a drug addict, and a guy whose face got burned off to a lost island where your Wizard of Oz-type floating head tells him to go north. That's where a bunch of green guys whose language is only developed as far as ooga booga throw the model into a pit. Oh, this is after the bad guy throws a glass of OJ at an Indian statue with 6 arms, which comes to life and starts knocking guys down with the 6 swords that's swinging around. Nobody gets stabbed, though. Did you guys notice that? Must have been some pretty dull cutlery. And then the bad guy accidentally knocks the gold doohickey into the fountain while Sinbad prepares for a little nookie with the model. Is that where we're at? Okay, let's get back to it. The exciting conclusion to The Golden Voyage of Sinbad after the ads. But you know, one more thing. You always have to get 3 things in these stories. It's always 3. They're always 3. But these are 3 weird things. Okay, youth, a shield of darkness, and the crown of untold riches. Aren't we talking apples and oranges here? And all 3 prizes come from the Fountain of Destiny. What the hell is that? So, all right, youth. Okay, I guess. Good prize. All right. A shield of darkness? Why not a shield of latex? Why darkness? All right, and a crown. Can't they do better than a crown? That's Disney material, a crown. Okay, minority opinion. I'm sure most people love the 3 prizes. Most people would sacrifice their left buttock for those 3 prizes. Fine.
We'll be back.
In Allah, but tie up your camel. They actually did a reprise of that line. Oh, those wacky Arabians. And since when did it become Allah? Wasn't it always Allah? They invented a new pronunciation of the Arab word for God just for this movie? And I guess that eye on Carolyn Monroe's hand was a way to get her down in the pit so Ray Harryhausen could animate a one-eyed centaur fighting a griffin. And where the heck did the griffin come from? I shouldn't try to make sense of it, should I? I should just let it go. It was the 70s. Nothing made sense in the 70s. I want to remind you that next week I'm taking a camcorder and going in search of the Nair Witch, the legendary hairless woman whose screams have been heard in the Hollywood Hills for 400 years. I'll be showing you my footage while we watch 4 great flicks that'll take us into Halloween. Carrie, Child's Play 2, Phantasm, and Phantasm 2. And on Sunday, Halloween itself, we got the John Carpenter flick In the Mouth of Madness, and we're going to have a seance with some very special guests, Rhonda Shear and Count Floyd, back from SCTV. That's it for me, Joe Bob Briggs, reminding you to never smack a man who's chewing tobacco. Did you guys hear the one about the man who's stranded on a desert island for 10 years? And one day he sees a speck on the horizon. And as it gets closer, he thinks, well, too small to be a ship. And it gets closer still, and he thinks, too small to be a boat. And it gets closer, and he thinks, well, it can't even be a raft. Suddenly, this gorgeous blonde emerges from the water in a wetsuit. And she walks up to the man, and she says, how long has it been since you've had a cigarette? The man says, 10 years. She pulls out a small waterproof pouch, and she gives the man a cigarette and a lighter. He takes a long drag, and he says, man, that tastes good. Next, she asks him how long it's been since he had a drink of whiskey. And the man says, 10 years. She pulls out a flask, and she hands it to the man. He takes a drink, and he says, boy, that's great. Then the woman starts to unzip the front of her wetsuit, and she says, and how long has it been since you had some real fun? And the guy says, my God, don't tell me you've got golf clubs in there, too. Joe Bob Briggs reminding you that the drive-in will never die. What's the definition of macho? Jogging home from your own vasectomy. What's the definition of mixed emotions? When you see your mother-in-law backing off a cliff in your new car.